So the wrestling world is gone crazy. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has gone crazy, and there's finally, after a long time of people not really talking about it a lot, because yeah, after 11 years, people get a little worn out on things. But the final season of The Walking Dead is finally starting to move some eyeballs here. I think it was kind of underwhelming with the amount of people who were not really paying attention to it. But seems to have changed recently. Now, we do want to, however, welcome some of the our new Patreon, our new patron to our Patreon page. Brandley has signed up this past week, so thank you, Brandley, for signing up. Welcome to the Patreon version of the Rantin review and Wrestling and Rantin. We did have a couple of exclusive videos up on the Patreon page. We were talking about some of the best tag team feuds from 1987. Do a little highlight there: the British Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation, and the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express, in light of the recent unfortunate passing of beautiful Bobby Eaton. So definitely check that out on the Patreon page. That's patreon.com/RasslinRantin, RassSSLINRANTIN. So let's start off first. Let's go back to what I was talking about last. It's actually technically it's already started, but officially it starts this coming weekend, which is going to be a huge weekend of me, which I don't watch a lot of TV, surprisingly enough, even though I cover wrestling and some anime shows and movies and The Walking Dead and stuff. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch the stuff that I watch, and you guys pretty much know what it is, and I don't watch much of anything else. But yeah, this is the final season of The Walking Dead, coming up, season 11. AMC Plus subscribers got to see the first episode of season 11 on the 15th. I am not doing that. I am waiting to see it with the rest of the world. Coming up, I believe it's the 22nd, and so it's the same night as SummerSlam, which is not SummerSlam, the Takeover show. So it is what it is. But here's the cool stuff that I've heard so far. Just the scuttlebutt. There's no spoilers in this, obviously, because I haven't seen the episode and I haven't seen any spoilers. But people are talking about Mercer, a lot about Mercer, which was another one of these big characters from the comic books that I was looking forward to seeing. So he's definitely in there. And Angela Kang, who is the showrunner of The Walking Dead, she took over in season 9 after there was a lot of complaints because of season 7 and 8, which I'll talk about that a little bit more in the future at some point in time. But she was on the Talking Dead show with Chris Hardwick, which is back now, with actual live studio audience again after they've suffered from the pandemic, not being able to do that show. Show that a lot of people, celebrities have been on there. Jericho's been on there. CM Punk's been on there. A lot of people have added their 2 cents into The Walking Dead over the years. But they were back on, and Angela Kang was asked about Rick Grimes coming back for season 11, and whether or not she could talk about it, and she said no. Now, the question is, does no mean that Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln's not going to be in season 11, or that she can't talk about it? She was very coy about that. I personally think you can't. Well, you could. It would be a major mistake. I don't think you can do the Walking Dead series finale, without bringing back Rick. I don't care if it's for one episode. You gotta be. The show was about Rick for about 9.5 years. It was about most of the people that watched the show thought it was about Rick. I think it goes a lot to kind of the confusion about The Walking Dead as a show anyway, which is what I want to get into a little bit more. Because I know a lot of people say, are you still watching that? Again, those of you who listen to this podcast know I just started watching The Walking Dead a couple years ago. I had to catch up on everything. I had to binge watch like 7 or 8 seasons to get caught up to where they were. And so I haven't gotten tired of it. I do think it is time for the show to end, the main show. And I don't watch The World Beyond or Fear the Walking Dead. This supposed Carol and Daryl show, I might check it out, but I'm not going to really get into it. I do think that the storyline it's served its purpose. It's run its course. The comic book ended a couple years ago. They've deviated a lot from what the comic book did. I mean, spoilers for the comic book here. I'll give you a second to press mute if you don't want to hear it. But the very last panel in the comic book is Carl, an older Carl, several decades after the events that we were seeing in the TV show and in the comic book, sitting with his kid, telling his daughter about the history of his father. and what Rick Grimes did, and that's how it all ended. I think the TV show might similarly end up the same way, because there was kind of a hint to it when Maggie was talking to Daryl in one of those extended episodes they tacked on a season 10C, I think they called it. I think the very first episode of 10C, there was this conversation with Maggie. She was talking about this this house near the beach, that there were very few walkers that ever came there. Her and baby Herschel had been there for a while, and it seems like that might be where the story ends. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but it's way too early to tell that. But yeah, I can't see them doing it without Rick Grimes, and I also can't see them doing it without Michonne. Now here's the thing: is like they made it a point not to kill off Michonne when Denai Guerrero left the show. They made it a point not to kill Rick Grimes off when Andrew Lincoln left. They are still talking about these Walking Dead movies. I'm not so confident those movies are going to happen, at least the way they think they're going to happen, because I just don't think the fandom is there anymore for the show. I think the casual fan in this universe, this entertainment sphere, I think they've pretty much they've washed their hands of The Walking Dead. I think a lot, and that happens because there's this kind of a thing with people who are casual fans of everything, not hardcore fans of anything, just the general public. They go like, a TV show is about 5 or 6 years before the general public goes, yep, it's time for this to end. And usually I can see that, but I've had this conversation with a couple people lately, and it's like The Walking Dead's kind of different because The Walking Dead's based off of a comic book. And if the show had ended when a lot of these people had said the show would have ended, it would have been like, whoa, wait a minute. You guys didn't do All Out War. You didn't do Negan. You didn't do The Whisperers. You didn't do The Commonwealth. Those are 3 of the most popular stories from the comic books. Why would you adapt the show if you're not going to do 3 of the most popular storylines from the show or from the comic, from the source material? It'd be like doing an adaptation of Harry Potter and stopping after the 4th book. And what about what happens in books 5, 6, 7, 8? Well, we've done too many movies, so we're not going to do anymore. And that's part of the problem with The Walking Dead being a regular kind of TV show, is that it's subject to those kind of rules with the general public. It's just weird how, especially in America, we perceive things differently. It's kind of the same way we weirdly perceive pro wrestling, and the same way we perceive anime, that it's only for kids, and anything animated is only for kids, whereas in other places in the world, it's not like that at all. Same thing with TV shows. It's like, TV show, after 6 years, that's it. Doesn't matter if it's good. It still has 10 million people watching it or not. That's too long, from some arbitrary rules. And I do think too that part of the reason that I can tell, as somebody who binge watched the series and didn't watch it week to week, so my view on this might be a little bit different. But I do think that a lot of the people that say stuff like that are people who watched The Walking Dead originally because they wanted to watch a zombie show. They wanted to watch a zombie horror movie, and you got one every single week, essentially. I think after 3 years, which is when people started grumbling, I think that kind of wore off. And I think a lot of those people didn't realize that The Walking Dead is not about zombies. The Walking Dead is about people. It's about families, it's about relationships. It's about, Rick's relationship with his son Carl, and the relationship with Michonne and Rick, and with Carol and Daryl, and Carol and Ezekiel, and Rick and Daryl, and so on, and all of this giant ensemble cast that acts like a family. It's about those relationships and the reality of loss. That is a big thing about. I just watched the Carl Grimes thing. When again, spoilers if you haven't watched a TV show, but Carl dies in the middle of season 8, and it's weird to go back and watch it now and see how in season 7 he was all gung ho about killing the saviors, and then as the very first episode of season 8, he's all changed into Mr. Peacenik now, and that was all leading up to his death, which is probably, a lot of people say Glenn's death was the saddest thing on the show. I watched Carl's death back about a week ago. That kind of touched me a little bit, because Carl was this. Carl, it was supposed to be at the end, like I said earlier. He's supposed to, in the comic books, he makes it. He's the only one that survives, and well, he's not the only one that survives, but he's one of the original people that survives, and he lives on, past his father, and continues the world. The future was his. They alluded to that a lot in the show. And plus, we grew up with Chandler Riggs, who was the actor that played him. We saw that kid grow up from a 10-year-old kid to an 18-year-old young man. And just seeing that character die like that, and the way that the character died, and they had a whole episode dedicated to it, and just how brave he was and what he did. I'm not going to spoil it any further, but it's and the song that they have associated with it, it was very, 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 very sad. Very, very sad. It may have also had to do with the fact that I was a little bit inebriated when I was watching this back, and it probably hit me a lot harder this time than the first time I saw it a couple years ago. So, but that's where we are right now. I'm excited. I will be on the entertainment channel, continuing what I was doing on the main channel. I'll just be doing over there on the entertainment channel with doing my weekly reaction videos to The Walking Dead, blind reaction videos. So that'll be going on until the show ends, and then that'll probably be the end of that.